What's up, everyone? And this is Next Level Thinking. What's up, everyone? It's time for another episode of Next Level Thinking, where we always bring you inspirational guests to help you take it to the next level and feel good all at the same time, even though it's almost evening time. But you know what? We still feel good. It's your host is always Chris Holmes, but today I have my guest by the name of
Mills Rodgers.
Rodgers. So let's go ahead and hit the ground running. So tell the audience a little bit about yourself, because I'm pretty sure they're wondering, who is this?
Yeah, you're probably wondering, who is this guy sitting in front of us? Well, my name is Mills Rodgers. I'm an author and speaker. I've written a book titled You Can Win Being You, and I do some speaking in the space of educational equity, personal development, self-empowerment, and special education.
Sound like all around, like doing some great things of leadership and much more to help the youth, but not only the youth, but adults help contain leadership and much more. That sounds about right?
Yes, sir.
Gotcha. So let's go a little bit to the origin story of everything. So, like, how did this all start? What kind of sparked you into this direction of a passion?
Well, I was a teacher for 15 years, and so I'll say this right off the bat. I had no idea that I was going to be a speaker at any point in my life. I was a middle school science teacher in San Antonio, Texas, and I guess a seed was planted one day because the principal I was working with, she was talking about this one speaker saying, hey, we got to get this guy to campus. He is super awesome. And that was like the previous school year. Well, I won't say the previous school year, but she was telling us that at the end of a school year. And so when we came back in August, she's like, guess what? I got this speaker. He's coming to our campus. And he has actually done a deal to speak at all the middle schools in our district. And so the speaker did come to campus. And honestly, it was a little anticlimactic in my opinion. And one of the teachers sitting next to me after the guy spoke was like, Mr. Rodgers, they paid that man all that money to come and speak. They could have got one of us to go up there and talk. And I'm like, you're right. But, I still wasn't interested in speaking, but I felt like, yeah, I could have did that. That's not a problem. But a seed was planted. Because at the time I was looking to advance in the education system as an administrator. Well, I ran into a lot of challenges with that, a lot of frustrations, a lot of no's. And eventually I started looking at other things to possibly have an impact, make a little bit more money and everything, and started paying a little bit more attention to like motivational speakers and everything. And I'm like, you know what? Yeah, that's something I can do. I feel comfortable with. I enjoy it. And so started looking more into, how to monetize that. And that kind of took me in this direction. And so I started doing professional development initially, using my expertise as a special education teacher and all my experience that I had too. Also, I'm parent to a daughter that is special needs. She has autism. And so I felt like that was a pretty unique perspective that I could bring to the table as far as education. And so I started offering that. And then a little bit, about a year or two into speaking, I more so pivoted to doing, I guess, quote unquote, motivational speaking. And I always was kind of against writing a book, but I was hungry. And
that's really, really starts as being hungry for different things. And I also love how you put the input of like, wait a minute, they paid all this person all this money and that was it. That's probably how the energy you feel like, I can do this.
Yeah, I mean, that was, that's real, man. It's kind of like, it's just like you're watching sports on TV and you're like, man, I can do the same moves as that dude is doing on TV. I got that. I got the height. I got everything. and it's just a matter of me getting my opportunity. And so, yeah, that's what speaking has been about. I've had some great opportunities. I went to motivational speaking. Now I pivoted back to professional development, and it's just I've been blessed with some incredible opportunities across the country.
So it's interesting you brought that up, and I want to ask this question: like, what is the difference between motivational speaking and then professional development? Because I know a lot of times people get the two confused in between and be like, "Ain't it the same thing?" But I know like there's a distinguished difference between those.
Yeah, professional development is more so training. You're helping people improve their skills. You're giving them insights to improve their skills. So yes, if I'm talking to educators, I'm giving insights to help them improve working with students. Whereas motivational speaking is more along the lines of personal development if you're giving tools. A lot of times those speakers are just simply giving inspiration, which is okay. But, me, myself, I like to give more, something a little bit more tangible. I want the audience to have some takeaways that they can hopefully at least attempt in their own lives.
I
So
completely
that's the
agree.
difference.
I completely agree with that because you have so many different kind of conference events that's out there, and it's very inspirational. You can definitely get inspired to do something, but the main thing that you want to do is obtain something that can actually be a valuable that you can take the next step, take action to move and change your life. Because it's one thing to like, oh, I'm inspired to do this, but what can I gain from this to actually change my life around? And I think that is the biggest thing.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
So, like, what kind of tools have you offered, or better yet, let me phrase the question like this: what has been the biggest challenge for someone to overcome, and what have you done to actually help them with one of your tools?
Well, when I was talking more so to college students, a lot of them had issues with the imposter syndrome. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but
Oh, we definitely hit this one in a minute. So, but keep going. I'm gonna park
okay.
that.
Yeah. And, that kind of relates to confidence. And so, you hear a lot of speakers, out there barking like, you got to be confident and you got to have courage and blah, 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 blah. And they almost make it sound like it's just like, flipping a switch. And for somebody that's struggling with confidence, how do you become confident? And so I like to talk to them about that, setting yourself up with small victories, something that does take some effort, but is achievable. And one thing I'm big on, and I think you're big on it too, from what I've seen of you on social media, is improving yourself physically.
Oh yeah, most
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, because that's something you can do without money. It don't take a lot of money to do it. It just takes your own dedication, your own consistency. You can go out and walk 2 miles a day and you're going to see some results. And when you start seeing results, that's going to give you confidence that's going to go to other areas in your life. And so it's the matter of, you have to build confidence in yourself. And I feel like the physical body is a great thing, but even just doing certain tasks, it might be like, okay, I'm going to study 20 minutes a day. And if you're consistent with that, chances are you're going to see results on your assessments and whatever else. And again, once you start experiencing success, that's where the confidence comes from. And so I feel like that's probably one of the major messages that, I've shared with people, and I've hopefully helped them in that area.
And I'm pretty sure you most definitely did. And I completely agree with you on that as well. It's like when you start doing things, especially active in the gym or any kind of like active activity, you get the momentum to start going, and you start slowly seeing the results, and then you get yourself inspired to do even more. Be like, okay, I feel a little bit good. I feel good within myself. I can keep this going, and let other people start noticing. Then you're like, oh, you got a little strong. Oh, you got a little weight here. I can see it's changing. Then you get really inspired. Like, okay, I'm gonna keep
Exactly.
it going. I'm feeling really pretty good now. Everybody else starting to see it, so let's really keep it going. And that's very important because you got to be confident and loving it within yourself to actually take the action to take it to the next level and obtain some of the other things inside of your own life. Now, with that said, you mentioned something earlier that I really want to get into because me, myself, being completely transparent, I fight this every once in a while, even though people don't realize, but I'm completely transparent on my podcast because I feel like that's how you have helped people receive the message and learn is this whole imposter syndrome. And you can be a great person or doing that great accolades and much more. But you have that little voice in your head that kind of comes in the back and say, "Oh, you're not enough." Or remember when you're back in this stage. Or well, who gives you the right to speak on this? Or what gives you the right to have the credentials to be in this position? It's those little thoughts in your head. But I want you to go ahead and go a little bit more in depth in this, in depth into this because I think this is something that a lot of people suffer with or not aware of.
Yeah, I mean, somebody like myself, like I said, I was a classroom educator for 15 years, overlooked for administrative positions. And now I'm being paid to go out and speak to educators and train them. Self-employed. I'm not employed by anybody else. I'm self-employed.
Funny
And
how that
so
goes.
and so yeah, it's there's a couple of times I like, wow, I mean, getting in front of people like, what if how would they feel if they knew that, maybe I wasn't a superintendent or something like that. But then I'm like, hey, I'm transparent. The people that are bringing me in, they know who I am. And they appreciate the knowledge that I'm sharing with them. And so, yeah, that imposter syndrome, we're all susceptible to it. But I like to use this example in my personal development talks, my motivational talks. I always ask someone, I'm like, I put up a bunch of fast food logos, and I'm like, what do these logos have in common? So I might put up McDonald's, Burger King, Whataburger, etc. And they'll be like, well, they all serve burgers, they all serve fast food. Correct. Well, what makes them different? And well, it's their recipes, their approach to it, whatever else. I'm like, exactly. And so a lot of times, well, let me backtrack for a second. So we all know McDonald's is the big dog as far as fast food restaurants, hamburgers, and everything. But the
Every
owner of
highway.
huh? What's that?
I was like at every highway exit.
Oh yeah, no doubt. So yeah, even with that, the owner of Burger King, the owner of Whataburger, Wendy's, etc., they had to have enough belief and confidence in themselves to say, you know what? I know I can put out a good product that is just as good or even better than McDonald's, despite them being at every corner. I'm going to go ahead and do it. And that's right there is an example of where you have to have that belief in yourself to overcome the imposter syndrome. Because yeah, if those guys had the imposter syndrome, then yeah, Dave for Wendy's would have been like, man, I don't know, I ain't got time for that. I can't mess with McDonald's right now. They dominate in this market. They got it on lock. Yeah. But your talents, your gifts are going to make a way for you. And so I think that's, one way, I use that as a way to build some insight into overcoming the imposter syndrome because, yeah, we all, experience it. If we're honest with ourselves, we experience that.
Now you mentioned something like all that is great bombs of information and much more, but that something grabbed my attention is using your talents and pretty much your gifts to like basically open opportunities for you. And I think that is one thing at times that we forget, especially when we're in our life working 9 to 5s or whatever you may be doing in life, is that your gifts, your talents, and much more will open doors for you. It's like what is the key for your life is built within you. And I think I want you to go a little bit more in detail this, but sometimes we have to be reminded that we have all the tools that we need within us. And we just have to take a time out and believe and notice that all that I need to actually overcome or change my life around, it's right here.
That's funny because that's another point I make during my talks. And so I like to use this example of I had to put together one Christmas a desk for my daughter. And I got to the end of putting the desk together, and it called for a specific drill bit for me to finish the job. And I didn't have that size. Okay. And it was Christmas Day. And so I was thinking like, man, what am I going to do? I couldn't run to Lowe's or Home Depot because it's closed. CVS is open, Walgreens is open, but they don't carry stuff like that. And so I'm going through all my tools, playing around with stuff, trying to think of some alternatives and everything. And I did have a drill bit, but it was close to the size they required, but it wasn't the exact size. But I got desperate, and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to try it anyway. And so I tried it, and don't you know, it actually worked. And so reflecting upon that at the end of the day, I'm sitting back that Christmas Day thinking about that. And I'm like, man, that's such a great analogy for life. Because here's the thing. I was looking for the perfect tool, the perfect drill bit. But what I had was good enough. And taking that back to life, a lot of times we're looking for perfect solutions. We want more money. We want to live in a better neighborhood. Maybe we want both parents at home. We want a 4-bedroom house, picket fence, 3 cars in the driveway, whatever. Unfortunately, life doesn't deal us that hand. But normally what we have is good enough to get started. Now, do you have all the skills you need right off the bat? Do you have all the resources you need right off the bat? No. But if you get started, chances are you're going to gain skills, and you're going to run into people that can maybe help build your knowledge. And so it's just a matter of getting from point A to point B. Because at point B, you'll probably learn some new things, meet some new people that's going to help you get to point C, and so on and so on. But it's all about starting. And it's like we were saying earlier, we have what we need right now, right now. You just have to have that discipline and that consistency.
Great points. I love every last bit of that. And especially like how we see in the world TV advertisement, especially some of these TV shows, how they have the perfect life and all that. And a lot of people get, depressed or kind of not as confident in their life because they see these things. And then you just reminded them that not everything is perfect, but actually that's the beauty of it, because I feel like that makes you even more relatable. And if you really think about it, I like a lot of your superhero movies, and I heard this from another speaker, is there's a reason why you love a superhero such as Spider-Man or Batman or any kind of Superman and much more, is because they have that moment of weakness. It's like, oh man, like what just happened? This person was like all strong, and now he's vulnerable, and life or whoever this foe is really kicking their tail. Or even with eventually when Thanos was destroying everything, and they left us with a huge cliffhanger. I'm okay now. I was upset, but they fixed the storyline. But they left you with a huge cliffhanger because you're like, what's going on? And then somewhere and somehow the superheroes raised to the occasion and defeated the foe through adversity, when against all odds. And if you think about your life, that's what it's really about. That's what your life is about. Overcoming different kind of odds, even when things look kind of grim or even impossible, and it just makes you even more of a superhero.
True. And another thing I like to say, and I bring up the superheroes a lot of times in my quote unquote motivational talks, is that, you look in these recent superhero movies, do you always see a single superhero working, doing everything? No. They're all collaborating now. They help each other. And so I like to say even superheroes need help. And so that's a whole nother thing. We don't need to, because especially us guys, we take a lot of pride in, trying to carry the world on our backs. And, we have to, kind of go against our nature and ask for help from time to time, because that's where we can really make the moves we need to make.
I completely agree with that. And a lot of times, I mean, sometimes we allow pride to get in the way when we need to open up and see like, hey, I need your help to actually obtain something. And it's very, I'm glad you brought it up too, because like, even when going back to superhero like, example, you know how you always have all these superheroes with superpowers, and yet at times, a lot of times, you still got Batman. You'd be like, this person don't have no, he has just a utility belt. But that mind though,
Yeah.
it's on a whole nother level.
Uh-huh.
They be like, man, we still need your help, man, and like we need your help on this. And so, like, never, never, I would say, doubt yourself and what you're capable or what you can actually um, participate or put in to make something happen.
Yes, sir. Yes. Totally
So,
agree.
yes, and one thing I want to add, more of a personal question towards you: what is something that you have to overcome that actually probably put you your back against the ropes so much more, but you had to fight to overcome that?
Hmm. Oh man, it's a number of things. My oldest daughter, like I mentioned earlier, she'll be considered disabled. She has severe autism to the point where she's nonverbal, and so that's been a challenge throughout life. Just dealing with that, and the how it changes the trajectory of parenting, and you have to try to access resources to meet her needs and everything. So that I wouldn't say it's a back against the wall thing, but it's where you definitely have to have some dog in you. You have to have some fight, and so I would say that. And I'm a only child. I'm my mom's only child. Let me put it that way. And so my mom has she fell sick a few years ago with a stroke, and so I had to figure out a lot of things to kind of get her situated, as far as her medical care and everything like that. And so, that's something I've had to deal with, and just the uh, the norm trying to figure things out and keep things moving, and just staying resilient. And so, I would say those things right there.
Well said, well said. And I think also, like as we go through this chapters of life and much more, it kind of makes you appreciate a lot of different things that you probably didn't before. And especially like when you said about your daughter, your mother, and it's interesting how those things happen like when the time is right. And it's also like the time to actually elevate you to another person or to where you should be. And I think that's all a part of growth.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And like I said, it's those challenges. At the time, you kind of wonder, like, oh man, I got to deal with this, or man, I wish I wasn't an only child having to deal with all this stuff. But you do what you got to do. And that's been the type of person that I am. It's I'm gonna fight. I'm not one that's gonna be all mouthy about it and beating my chest and everything, but I'm gonna get the job done. I'm gonna get the job done, and it's sometimes now I reflect on certain things, even like the job situation I was telling you about, having to I wanted to progress as an administrator in the school system, and I had some things happen with that it just I was just never the right fit or whatever else, and it was very disappointing at the time. And but I had to continue to believe in myself, and believe that what uh God has something else for me. God has something for me. I I'm smart. Maybe other people aren't seeing it, or they feel like there's better options out there, but I know that I got what it takes. And so again, like I was mentioning earlier, at the time I had no idea I was going to get into speaking, but it's like I always say, the church folks say, but God. And so this is kind of like what was on the horizon, having the opportunity to speak coast to coast, and having people value my mind and what I have to say to the point where they're like, hey, we want you to fly to such and such place on the West Coast, or such and such place on the East Coast, or go up to the Midwest. And it's really just a blessing, and it's kind of like I got to pinch myself sometimes. Like, wow, man, that's it's crazy how things have really turned around.
Yes, and also displays the power of your faith because, like that's the church folks say, but God, you be surprised how you have everything planned that, or you think things go in this direction, and then something is dropped that's even bigger than you can even imagine. That you even be like, "Is this really happened to me?" Like you need that time to be like, this is for me," because you're walking within your purpose, and when you're doing that, all kinds of amazing things happens, especially when you serve people, the community, and much more, and uplift them to so many greater levels than that. And I commend you for that. And that's what it's all about. Life is about its service and helping others, and that's what actually I feel like makes the world a much better and happy place. So, with that, I want to ask this one other question before we come to a close. What is the why that keeps you going? That keeps you waking up and saying like, "Okay, I gotta do this. I gotta keep serving the people," or like, "I gotta do something to change," or "I gotta do this to make an impact." What is that striving why that keeps you going each and every day?
Well, I feel like I'm in a good spot right now. I mean, I'm doing something I really enjoy doing. I feel like I'm good at it. I feel like I can grow at it. It's providing for my family, and I feel like it's making a difference. I believe in education. I know it's unfortunate that people like to beat up on education, but I feel like it's the one way in this country for the have-nots to join those that have. It's the one reliable way. The one reliable way. Yeah, people can strike it big being in entertainment or being in sports or whatever else, but it's not consistent. Whereas, you can be, you don't have to be super smart to go and get an education, or to go to college or to go to trade school or whatever else. And you can really improve your family. I've seen it in my own family. My mom grew up in Louisiana in the Jim Crow era. She was poor. They were dirt poor. I can't even explain it. And she ended up being the first in the family. She was the youngest out of seven siblings. My family wasn't educated, but they believed in an education. My grandparents had a middle school education. They dropped out sixth, seventh grade because, the poverty was just so deep. But yeah, they believed in an education. And so my mom graduated from high school, top of her class, got an academic scholarship to Grambling, HBCU. And, she did this as a Black woman in the 60s. And she got her degree. And that right there set a precedent for the rest of my family, because they saw that, their aunt, which was almost like their sister, because it was such a large family. So a lot of her nieces and nephews were not that far behind her. But they saw that that was a reality, like, oh, she went to college, we can do the same thing. And I know it's had a great impact on my family because, a lot of my family, they've been able to live middle class, and, their children have done really well. And so, an education does work. I'm not saying it's perfect, but that's why I do what I do, because I want to improve that. I want to improve the education system because it is that one reliable way for, people of color, gender, whatever, to rise above their circumstances.
Yes, I completely agree. Education is the key to so many different ways to make you change your life around, make impact into your family, and much more in your personal life. And there's just so many different doors that can be opened. So I definitely agree with you 100% on that. So as we come to a close, I want you to leave us off with a closing statement or a quote that you shall give. And don't forget to give them where they can find you on your social media as we close these things out.
Okay, a quote. I like to always say that you need to turn your trial into your treasure. Yes, that's an original quote that yours truly came up with. And so the meaning behind that is, look, we all got challenges. I shared some of mine with you, and we all got things that have been pretty difficult for us in life. But like myself, especially my daughter having autism, that's a struggle as a parent. But I found a treasure in it, because the treasure was that I had gained knowledge and experience to go out there, speak, help people with educating students that are special education, have disabilities, and whatever else. And so, yeah, turning your trial into your treasure. Your trial is going to give you such unique insights into problems that people have that are similar to yours. And so you can use that knowledge to help uplift others, and you're uplifting yourself too. And so that's a quote I want to leave you with. I would love for you to follow me on social media. You can find me on Instagram at Rodgers with a D Speaks. You can find me on TikTok at Rodgers Speaks. Find me on Facebook by my name, Mills Rodgers. Same on LinkedIn. And my website is successisaprocess.net.
Awesome, awesome. And I want to thank you for giving all the great inspiration, and not only that, the valuable information to help change people's lives, because that's what it's all about on Next Level Thinking, to help make a change in your life and elevate you to the next level. All right, so make sure that you share, subscribe, keep things going, and talk about the show so we get things going and keep impacting so many lives. It's your host, Chris Holmes, as always, and I have my special guest by the name of
Mills Rodgers.
As I said again, make sure you subscribe and keep things going. And I close out like this. Don't let the impossible stop you. Let that be the growth of your next future. Peace out.